If I try to start weekly summary, usually what I do is I take a few ideas or something that happened in the week and kind of focus on it, just like last week I talked about the weekly rotation. But this week, with an assassination attempt on President Trump, with a huge CrowdStrike code that was shipped incorrectly, with Biden and the Democratic Party calling him to resign or at least to stop his presidential race, actually the stock market took the back seat. But we're going to take the stock market and put it in the front seat. So yes, we're going to cover all these three events, but of course, we're going to talk about Amazon and Microsoft and Starbucks and more of the companies that you probably might own. Are you ready for it? Let's start. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you're new, hi, my name is Micha, and on this channel we talk about stocks, we talk about the stock market. We try to summarize the week, and we are currently with 3.85k subscribers. If you're new, it would be amazing if you can subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on so you will be notified every time a new video is uploaded. Let's dive in to the markets. We talked last week about the weekly rotation. Here we go. Russell up 1.74% for the week, versus NASDAQ down 4%. Rotation, that's exactly the rotation we were talking about. S&P down almost 2%, and the RSP, which is the S&P but equal weighted, almost zero for the week. What does this chart tells us? It tells us two things. One, rotation in progress. People are chasing the Russell because they feel they were underinvested in it. It's just the beginning, at least from my perspective. And if I forgot to tell you, everything and anything that you see on this video is not financial advice. Of course, I'm just a YouTuber, which brings you some kind of entertainment and education purposes only. Dramatic much. So the Russell up. NASDAQ and S&P down, while the RSP is almost zero, which means that there is also a rotation. Inside the S&P, more and more companies are participating in the rally, or at least in the gains for the week and the year. And when we look at the different indices themselves, you can see, actually, it's very easy to see who underperformed this week. XLK, the technology sector, down 5.5%, while others are down, but not as significantly, with an energy up 2% and real estate up 1.3%. When we look at the crypto market, a very strong Thursday and Friday for the Bitcoin, up 4.5%, while Ethereum is up 2%. All this on geopolitical tensions and, of course, the rumors that on Tuesday, Ethereum ETFs will start trading in the New York Stock Exchange. This brings us to the commodities. You can see natural gas down 8% for the week and crude oil down 2.4%, while both gold and silver down between 0.5% and 4.8%. And the Magnificent Seven this week were the falling seven. From Apple down 2.7% all the way to Nvidia down 8.75%. Most of the people seeing this chart saying, "Oh my God, I lost money this week. This was really a bad week." Others, which are more seasoned in the market, are looking at these companies and saying, "Wait, I got an 8% discount on Nvidia for the week, maybe a 15% from their peak. Do I believe that Nvidia topped and it will never reach its all-time high?" If the answer is yes, don't ever buy Nvidia, just sell it. But if the answer is no, then you got a 15% discount. Wall Street is the only place where there's a discount and people don't stand in line. Think about it. And that, of course, brings us to the news of the week. And before we start them, I got this amazing quote from Peter Malloch. And the quote goes this way: "The mind is like water. When it's turbulent, it's difficult to see. When it's calm, everything becomes clear. The calmer you are, the sharper you see." And why did I start with this quote? Well, this week was no doubt one of the turbulent weeks we have seen. It started with an assassination attempt on President Trump. You probably heard about it. It continued with Biden getting the COVID-19 and I want to say half, maybe less, maybe more of the Democratic Party calling him to stop his presidential race. It continued with a huge outage that was created because of the wrong code in CrowdStrike's update through their systems. And of course, this is my team in front of the blue screen. Some of them are, actually all of them are happy that they didn't have to work on Friday. And even Satya Nadella from Microsoft, the operating system that deployed that new line of code, also commenting on it with Azure that was down. You saw probably a lot of these blue screens on your monitors. But now let's dive into regular news. Elliott Management takes a big stake in Starbucks, ticker SBUX. And of course, it took me a second to remember the ticker, which means that Elliott Management believes that Starbucks just need a little bit of squeeze to be a lot better. Are they right or are they wrong? We will see. Meta is considering investing in Ray-Ban for the augmented reality glass. Sorry, Mark Zuckerberg, talking about the metaverse glasses. They understand that the future will not be this Quest 3 or the Apple Vision, but rather something a lot more stylish and maybe even cooler. Broadcom and OpenAI are in discussions to develop a new AI chip only for OpenAI. They want to reduce their need for NVIDIA chips. Ming-Ching Kuo, an analyst in the stock market that is very focused on Apple and their products, says, guys, you're too excited about the iPhone 16. I don't see from Taiwan Semi and Largan too much preparation for the new iPhone, which means that it's not currently planned to be a blockbuster. Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly were down for the week. Why? Because Roche, a Swedish, I think it's a Swedish company, said that they are continuing their experiment about using a pill instead of a shot for GLP-1 for the obesity drugs. And of course, the market got spooked and said, oh, maybe they will have competition. And I'm looking at it and saying, excellent, there will be a competition. And also adding for people here that might not be that seasoned in the market. In order for Roche to start selling a diabetic and obesity drug pill, let's say everything works great in their experiments. That's at least a few weeks, a few months of experiments. Then they need to get an FDA approval. That's at least a few more weeks, a few more months. Then they need to start producing that in a large scale. That usually takes time. All these things are months ahead. Not that I'm saying that they might not have it. I'm all for it. I'm just saying that I think the market was a bit over their skis in their fear about Novo and Eli Lilly. GM facing reality and saying, guys, we are not going to get to 1 million GM EVs by 2025. At least I don't even think they're going to get to 1 million by 2030, but who knows? And that's Mary Barra taking back her words or her promises and saying, oh, we're going to be the number one in EVs. Right now, they're not even close. Jeff Bezos keeps selling Amazon stock. Every time Amazon got to 200, he sold a lot of stock. And billions of dollars. Did it also this week. We talked about the ETF, the Ethereum ETF that might launch on Tuesday. These are the tickers. If you want to buy Ethereum ETF, it will be traded just like a regular ETF, just like the SPY, just like the QQQ. And these are the tickers. This is the starting fee. Most of them waive the starting fee because they want money to go in. And post the waiver, this is going to be the commission that you're going to pay on an annual basis. That brings us to Apple, and they see an incremental 33% year-over-year rise to $8 billion in their revenue coming from India. And if you wanted to start investing in the India theme, you can just keep on investing in the S&P 500 because all the companies would like to invest in India and get, of course, the revenue coming from there. Tesla, as you can see, just announced another power plant that will launch all the way through 2030. That we're seeing more and more power plants like this. Just to give a quick explanation, if you're not aware, this is basically a power, let's call it, a huge power area where you have thousands, maybe even more, of batteries, just like a car. Think about it. There's a lot of car inside this. Why do they need it? Because energy, if you look at the solar, the way solar works is you capture the sun, you capture the rays of light, and then you need to store the energy. These are the racks that store the energy and power it back to the power lines. Why is it needed? Because the sun doesn't stay up all day and you need to capture the energy. Tesla is growing that business, and we'll see next week. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to tell you yet that next week on Tuesday they're going to report. We're going to see how their energy business is going. And Amazon, great news about their Prime Day. They're saying it was the biggest Prime Day shopping ever that was held 16th and 17th of July. And I'll end the news with UBS coming out with a huge market prediction. They're saying the following: the S&P 500 might get by the end of this year to 6,500. That's crazy. But it also might fall to 4,800. Where will it go? Up? Down? UBS is covering both sides. They're saying, look, if it's going to go down, it's going to go to 4,800. But if it goes up, it's going to go to 6,500. What can you learn from that? Nothing. And that brings us to next week. Next week, we're going to get more than 140 S&P 500 companies that are going to report, from Verizon to Cleveland-Cliffs to NXPI to SAP. Spotify, Tesla, Google, UPS, Coca-Cola, GM, Lockheed Martin. We're going to get Chipotle and AT&T and Ford and IBM. You can see them sorted out by days. And of course, American Airlines and Dexcom and Hasbro and Honeywell and Juniper and 3M and Bristol Myers and Charter. It's going to be a very eventful week with a lot of volatility. You can see the VIX currently on 16.5 versus the 12 that we started the week. We are starting to see that volatility due to both earnings and, of course, geopolitical tensions. And from a macro perspective, we're going to get the core PCE, the Fed's preferred inflation gauge, on Thursday. And beside that, there aren't too many macro events this week. And that, of course, brings us to the SPY, which is the S&P 500's ETF, common ETF that tracks the market. We had basically 3 red days. If you look at it on a weekly basis, you can see this is a red Japanese candle, which means that we are, or at least this week was a down week. We saw that at the beginning. This is called an engulfing candle. Engulfing candle is a candle that engulfs the previous candle. Usually, when I say usually, nothing is 100% certain. But usually, when you see an engulfing candle, it means that the direction has changed, and we might see we might see more weakness in the days ahead or even in the weeks ahead. How weak will we get? Look, the green line is the 50-day moving average. You remember we talked about it when we were here. And now we're talking about it again. The 50-day moving average currently is at 539. We are at 548. It won't be a big surprise if we will go down to 542. You can see we have strong support here. And then meet the 50-day moving average. That would be a regular correction of an upward trajectory with a 3.9 or maybe 4% correction. Nothing out of the ordinary. It's a regular phenomena in the market. When you're in an upward channel, you go up, you correct, you go up, you correct. It's totally regular. What we should make sure doesn't happen, or at least not doesn't happen, but we should be aware of, and I'll move the red line, the red moving average so it won't be in the way, that if we cut through the 50-day, we might meet the 100-day just like we did here in April, or actually, mid-April. And again, we should be aware of that. 525 is a 100-day. At least today, it will probably keep rising until we get to it. And 539 or 542 on the 50-day moving average. Nothing out of the ordinary. Looks okay. Part of an upward trajectory. Just be aware of that. That's how the week went. Next week, a lot of news is going to happen, going to hit. And I can't wait to talk to you next week. So till next time, I'm Micha Stocks. Bye-bye.